Good morning, everybody. Let me welcome you to the session on renewable energy on Destination 3, sustainable, secure, and competitive energy supply. We are going to first sort of have a very short introduction of this destination and this area within the destination. Followed by the presentation of all the topics that will be are open in 2021. So let me continue. Next slides, please. If you can show, okay, next slides. Just to remind you, as you have heard already, I'm sure yesterday, Horizon Europe is based on a strategic plan over 4 years, 2021 to 2024, and they're defining this strategic plan key strategic orientation. Our area, renewable energy and Destination 3, are really focused on two of those strategic orientation. The first one, which is promoting an open strategic autonomy by leading the development of key digital, enabling and emerging technology in all the sectors and value chain to accelerate and steer digital and green transition through human-centered technology and innovation, and also making Europe the first digitally enabled, circular, climate neutral and sustainable economy through the transformation of its mobility, energy and construction and production system. Next slide. So from this key orientation, there is impacts that we need to address. And for us in the renewable energy is to foster European global leadership in affordable, secure and sustainable renewable energy system technology and services. So this is really our focus, and this is where our topic are focusing for expected impact. Next slide, please. So in Destination 3, the part on renewable energy, what's our impact and our aim is to have renewable energy technology to provide major opportunities to replace and substitute carbon from fossil origin in the power sectors, in heating and cooling, in transportation, in agriculture, and in industry. We're looking at advanced renewable fuels, including synthetic and sustainable advanced biofuel that are needed to provide long-term carbon neutral solution for transport and energy-intensive industrial sectors. We're also looking at enhancing affordability, security, and sustainability and efficiency for the more established renewable energy technologies such as wind energy, photovoltaics, or bioenergy, and further diversify the technology portfolio. This is an aspect that we are also looking. We are not pushing existing and mature technology. We are also developing new renewable energy technologies. And the renewable energy technology are the baseline on which we want to build a more sustainable European and global neutral, climate neutral future. Next slide, please. So we are also looking at coupled with circularity and sustainability to increase energy security and reliability. We are looking at synergies with activities that will be done in Cluster 4, where we will be integrating renewable energy technologies and solutions in the energy consuming industries. But we have also complementarity with Cluster 6 for biomass related activities, including some sustainable chemistry and sustainable fuels, synthetic fuels. In all our topics, the do not harm principle for environment, for actions for all renewable energy is also what we are looking for. And just to repeat and to stress a bit more, all the renewable energy technologies are aimed to improve the environmental sustainability of the technology that we develop to deliver products with reduced greenhouse gas emission and improve environmental performance regarding water use, circularity, and pollution and ecosystem. Next slide, please. So what you will have is on the topic impacts, what we expect for the topics is the availability and disruptive technologies for renewable energy renewable fuel technologies by 2050 in order to accelerate the replacement of the fossil-based energy technologies, to reduce cost and improve efficiency of the renewable energy and renewable fuel technologies and their value chain, to de-risk renewable energy and fuel technologies in view of their commercial exploitation, and to net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050, and to better integrate renewable energy and renewable fuel-based solution in the energy consuming sectors. Next slide, please. The last impacts that our topics will look like is also to reinforce the European scientific basis and European export potential for renewable energy technologies through international collaboration. We have in this work program a focus on Africa for renewable energy technology and renewable fuel, and also on enhanced collaboration with mission innovation countries. We are also looking at enhancing the sustainability of renewable energy and renewable fuel value chains to take into account the social aspect, economic and environmental, in line with the European Green Deal priority. And we will also be looking at impact to have a more effective market uptake of renewable energy and fuel technologies. Next slide, please. Basically, the topics that we will be covering and that we will show in this work program is, in terms of technology, we are looking at what I would say our classic technology portfolio: solar energy, wind energy, ocean energy, geothermal, bioenergy and biofuel, also renewable fuels, including synthetic fuels, hydropower. And there we are going to have some topics looking at integration of this energy in energy consuming system, in sustainability, market uptake measures, and international cooperation. What sort of has been already presented yesterday is also support activity to the sectorial sectors through the European Technology Implementation Innovation Platforms and of the set plan. We will have also in other part of the work program, and not presented today, some studies that will be going through a dedicated tenders calls, and not in this current work program, but in future work program, we are also looking at how we could use also inducement price or recognition price. So this is my very quick and brief introduction of our objective for this Destination 3 and renewable energy part. And now I will leave the floor for the first speaker that will present topics on photovoltaic. Maria gets you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I will present you the 3 topics that we have on photovoltaics for 2021. Next slide, please. Yes, the first topic is about novel tandem high-efficiency photovoltaic technologies targeting low-cost production with earth-abundant materials. So tandem photovoltaics combine different materials which have different band gaps, and by this combination, by this stacking in a tandem architecture, we can have a better use of the solar spectrum. So proposers are requested to develop novel concepts based on earth-abundant materials, which optimize the PV cell and module architecture, increase the durability and reduce losses at the same time, and in this way target very high efficiencies. Such architecture should take into consideration also the destination or the specific applications in which these architectures, these devices are going to be used. The proposer should employ simple, scalable, and low-cost processing techniques and deliver at the same time proof of concept for equipment development to support the novel layer deposition. They need to ensure compliance with the relevant standards at laboratory scale and also consider again the specific applications to which these novel technologies are targeting. perform DEVIS, or module real life characterization for reliability and energy yield assessment. And when we are saying real life, we mean under actual outdoor operating conditions, and demonstrate a very low environmental impact by carrying out a life cycle analysis to demonstrate at the same time a better resource efficiency, a better CO2 footprint from the current commercial photovoltaic technologies, and at the same time the circularity potential of the proposed technologies. Next slide, please. What is the expected outcome? We know that photovoltaics is going to play a very important role in the current, but also in the future climate neutral energy system. For this, it is important that we enhance the affordability, the security of supply, and the continuity of the whole value chain of the PV technologies, along with further efficiency improvements. Therefore, from the specific topic, we request the projects or the proposals to demonstrate, first of all, very high efficiencies at the end of the project, efficiencies, of course, that go beyond the Shockley-Quisser limits that are higher than 30%. Secondly, we expect the projects to increase the potential of tandem technologies with earth-abundant materials for mass production at low manufacturing cost and demonstrate the affordability of the respective technologies. At the same time, using abundant materials, but also having a very high efficiency and increasing the energy yield per square meter, they would minimize the impact of the photovoltaic technologies on the landscape and the environment. And finally, contribute towards establishing a solid European innovation base and a competitive, continuous, and coherent value chain in Europe. Next slide, please. So the specific conditions that apply to the topic, they are the general conditions which are described in Annex B, with only one exception applying. And this exception is that the JRC, the Joint Research Center, may participate as a member of the consortium which is selected for funding. This means that only at the end, if proposals are selected for funding, then they can take into account the participation or consider the participation of the JRC. The type of action for the topic is a research and innovation action, which is expected to bring the technology readiness level at TRL 5 by the end of the project. The total EU contribution for the topic is 20 million euro. And we expect to finance more or less 4 projects. This means that an average EC contribution per project is about 5 million. The topic is already open and it will have a deadline on the 5th of January 2022. So let's go to the next slide and to the next topic. The next topic is about stable, high-performance perovskite photovoltaics. So perovskite photovoltaics have known a very impressive development the last decade. Their efficiencies have increased dramatically and they reach now 25.6%. This is the record efficiency for perovskite PVs, which has been reached recently. I don't think any other technology has reached or has managed to have such a rapid development in the last years. However, for perovskite photovoltaics to become commercially available or commercially exploitable, they need to demonstrate a low manufacturing cost, which they already demonstrated, but they need also to have a long lifetime comparable to that of silicon photovoltaics. However, long lifetime is related or is very much connected to the stability of photovoltaics, and therefore we request that proposals will deal and will resolve any degradation issues and mechanisms in intrinsic or extrinsic. Intrinsic meaning linked to the materials or to the structure of the material and the device, and extrinsic, meaning any issues which are linked to the environment, like moisture or exposure to sunlight or exposure, to high temperatures, etc. So all these degradation mechanisms and issues need to be dealt with from material to module. And proposers are requested to produce stable and high efficient perovskite PV architectures by optimizing the materials, the architecture of the cell and of the module, the interfaces, the interconnections between cells, the environmental conditions during productions, and at the end, of course, the encapsulation of cells and modules. Propose new device concepts and new materials, improved lead halide perovskites or lead-free perovskite analogs to deal with any toxicity issues, ensure compliance with relevant protocols at laboratory scale, and develop adequate stability assessment methods and measurements, propose and perform device or module real-life characterization for reliability and energy yield assessment. These characterization techniques should be the standard ones or comply with the standard ones, because we have seen recently in publications characterizations or stability assessments which are different, so they give non-comparable results. Identify, finally, environmental hotspots and how to address them. Perform again a life cycle assessment to demonstrate the low environmental impact, the better use of resources, and compared to current commercial PV technologies, and the circularity potential of the proposed technologies. Next slide, please. The expected outcome, as I said previously, for technologies, for photovoltaic technologies to be commercially viable, they need to demonstrate a low manufacturing cost, so affordability. They need to demonstrate a very high efficiency and at the same time, a long lifetime. In this way, they will be commercially competitive. So what concretely we expect from the project is to increase the efficiency and the stability, and at the same time minimize environmental impact of perovskite PV. Currently, sometimes we have very high efficiencies, but these high efficiencies do not align, or they are not related to long lifetime. There is no fundamental law, physics law, that does not permit that both of them, efficiency and lifetime, are optimized at the same time. So this is what we expect from the projects to do. The projects also, by demonstrating the new novel architectures, would enlarge with bandgap tunable perovskites the corresponding device that would enlarge, the application potential of PV technologies. And finally, increase the potential for commercialization of perovskite PV, creating a competitive technological know-how for the European PV industrial base. And I insist, a coherent PV value chain from the start until the end. Next slide, please. The general with regards to eligibility conditions, the general conditions apply again here. Those conditions are described in Annex B. And again, the exception is that the JRC may participate as a member of the consortium or of the consortia, which will be selected for funding. The type of action, it is a research and innovation actions, which is expected to bring the technology readiness level at TRL 5 by the end of the project. The total budget, the total EU contribution for the topic is 15 million. And we expect to fund more or less 3 projects with an average or an indicative EC contribution per project of 5 million. The topic will be open on the 2nd of September 2021 with a deadline on the 23rd of February 2022. Next slide and next topic. So the last topic on PV, on photovoltaics, is demonstration pilot lines for alternative and innovative PV technologies. We know that recently there are many technologies or enhanced technologies on PV which have been demonstrated at laboratory scale. However, in order to pass from laboratory to production to commercialization of this technology, there is an intermediate step, and this intermediate step is from lab to fab demonstration. This is what exactly the topic is requesting proposals to do, to develop and demonstrate at pilot line scale innovative, all alternative and advanced versions of existing PV technologies, so as to demonstrate the feasibility and cost competitiveness of industrial production of these architectures. So, develop at the same time corresponding manufacturing equipment, implement Industry 4.0 concepts for a smart and digitalized fabrication, test and validate the performance characteristics of manufactured products. This means efficiency, durability, reliability, lifetime, etc., etc. Demonstrate a business case for manufacturing plants of individual output capacity at the gigawatt scale, and a market introduction strategy. Address also the environmental impact of those technologies with demonstrating a better resource efficiency than the current commercial renewable technologies. Demonstrate the circularity potential by sustainability of design and applying sustainability by design in the concept of the technologies, in the concept of the project. Document all demonstrators fully and transparently so as to ensure replicability and upscaling and assist future planning decisions. Next slide, please. What is the expected outcome? To promote, of course, a considerable pipeline of new and advanced versions of existing photovoltaic technologies, which would enable the robust continued performance increase, the opening up of new applications, and the facilitation of further cost reduction. In this way, they will reinforce the European PV value chain. We will support local companies to develop and sell differentiated products, and at the same time create, of course, local jobs. Demonstrate the feasibility and cost competitiveness of novel PV technologies, contribute towards establishing a solid European industrial base, and while doing all these, of course, enable and facilitate the large-scale deployment of photovoltaics and the generation of renewable electricity by photovoltaics in Europe. By increasing the energy yield by square meter of the photovoltaic technologies, and by using sustainable methods of production and efficient methods of production, there will be at the same time So, next slide, please. The general conditions will apply. However, there is one exception that applies to this topic. So in order to achieve the expected outcomes and safeguard the Union's strategic assets, the participation to the topic is limited to legal entities which are established in member states, associated countries, and OECD countries. Proposals, including legal entities which are not established in these countries, will be ineligible. This is an innovation action which is expected to bring the technology readiness level to 7 by the end of the project. The indicative EC contribution for the whole topic is 45 million. We expect to finance 3 projects, and therefore the average, I would say, or an indicative budget per project is about 15 million. The opening of the topic is on the 2nd September 2021, with a deadline on the 23rd of February 2022. And this is all about the 3 topics on photovoltaics of 2021. So I pass the floor to my colleague, Piero De Bonis, who is going to introduce to you the topics on CSP. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I'm going to present you now the topic we have for concentrated solar power. First slide, please. Thank you. The title of the topic is Novel Approaches to Concentrated Solar Power. And the scope is quite straightforward. We want to support novel solutions that use concentrating solar thermal energy to generate power. So the main focus here is the generation of power, electricity, by means of concentrating solar thermal energy. We know that a critical asset of concentrated solar power is dispatchability. So, of course, we want these novel solutions to have, in terms of power dispatchability, the same, at least the same performance as current commercial installations. An aspect we can also see in these proposals is the fact that the solutions can focus on the cogeneration of power and heat. This is also in the scope. The main focus is the generation of power, but the cogeneration of heat and power is also in the scope. Moreover, proposal where concentrated solar thermal the concentrated solar thermal technology is supported by the photovoltaic technology are also in the scope. Again, the main focus is the concentrated solar thermal technology, but solutions which convincingly integrate concentrated solar thermal and photovoltaic, where the photovoltaic supports the concentrated solar thermal technology solutions, proposals with these characteristics are also in the scope. Then another very important aspect is that we want proposals to assess the sustainability of the proposed solutions in environmental, economic, and social terms. These are aspects which we are now more and more considering in our research and innovation projects. These are aspects which are very important, especially for solutions which are still maybe under development now. All the characteristics, all the possible impacts have to be considered already now when the proposal is, when the project is being executed. We encourage applicants to apply a circularity by design approach. Technology readiness levels, very important. We want to see proposals which aim to achieve TRL 4 to 5 by the end of the project. So 4 to 5. Next slide, please. We are talking here about novel solutions which will achieve the technology readiness level 4 or 5 at the end of the project, and we want applicants to reflect on all these possible expected outcomes. So we want to see the novel solutions contributing to all of the following expected outcomes: higher shares of variable output renewables in the energy system. So we want to see solution based on concentrated solar thermal energy, based on this dispatchability of concentrated solar thermal energy. We want to see solutions that contribute in general to the fact that the energy system integrates ever-increasing shares of variable output renewables. We want also the proposals to, of course, define future higher efficiency concentrated solar power plants. We want proposals to contribute to the reduction of the cost of future concentrated solar power plants. Very important characteristics in this evolving energy system is that we want these novel solutions also to show that the CSP plants of the future will have very good performance in terms of startup, shutdown, and load variation. And finally, of course, we want a very good and improved environmental profile of CSP plants. Next slide, please. and this is going to be the last slides for this topic. So this is a research and innovation action. A specific topic condition we have is that if proposals decide to use satellite-based Earth observation, positioning, navigation, or timing data and services, then applicants have to use either Copernicus and or Galileo EGNOS. EGNOS stands for European Geostationary Navigation Overlay Service. Applicants can also use, in addition, other services, but if they want to use this type of service, they first of all have to start from Copernicus or Galileo EGNOS. This is an important requirement of the topic if applicants decide to use satellite data. We indicate that proposals should aim for a EU contribution of 3 million euros, but of course, this does not preclude submission of proposal requesting different amounts, provided the request is convincingly explained. And the deadline for submission of proposals is the 23rd of February 2022. Thank you, and now I will give the floor to my colleague Carlos Eduardo Lima da Cunha. Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to be doing a quick introduction here on the project on wind. So if you could go to the first slides. Thank you very much. So we're going to be covering here 3 topics. So the first one we're going to be talking about is about the physics and aerodynamics of the atmospheric flow of wind and for power production. So what we're looking here is that we want to have we want to have the development of numeric models to accurately forecast wind flow at very high altitudes. We're particularly looking at the altitudes where the tips of the blades are, particularly like offshore blades, but blades in general are going to be really touching, in order to be able to better forecast how the wind flow is at that level. And what is also important is that we are able to understand how external factors might be playing a role in there. And this all has an important role, specifically when talking about forecasting. So it's being able to see how a certain region is going to be, how windy that region is going to be, specifically looking into the design of the farms, and if you're looking at how to place it, how to design them. This is also supposed to be an integrated approach in a way that it's something that is not a model that is developed only for one technology, but something that should be able to converse between different technologies, between different wind conversion technologies. What we're also looking at is something that we can use case studies in order to see how well those tools work, how to validate them very well. And one thing that is also important in this case is that we want to have the development of an open access knowledge hub where all this information is going to be shared and going to be put together, so that other researchers, other groups can also make use of this kind of a knowledge that has been built in there, and make use of those different approaches. And as I said, what is extremely important here is that all this kind of information, the hub and the models, and these case studies are going to be building into the design development of new wind farms and the components that are part of it. So next slide. When we're looking then into expected outcomes, as I put, what we're specifically looking at is that we want to have something that is going to be looking at the turbulence of the atmospheric flow features, and how to increase power production and how to make them more predictable. So we want to, with all these technologies that we're going to be developing, we want to be able to improve the way how wind farm design is going to be done, pretty much looking into the location choice and the distribution in order to allow the operators to better gauge how well the farm will do, and obviously improve power production. This will also help into decreasing the economic uncertainties related to farm design and power production, exactly because we'll be able to forecast it better, exactly how a certain farm will be doing and how external factors might be playing a role into it. And by being able to develop those numerical models, we will also be able to improve the way how the different components are designed and how they can fit into that one single farm. If we go to the next slide. So the expected contribution per year project is about 6 million euros. As you can see there, we are expecting about 3 projects per for the call. And we are expecting to reach TRL 5 by the end of the call. And as I put it there, if necessary, we would like to the projects or the proposals to make use of the services that we have, such as the Copernicus and the Galileos. Next slide. And as I also put it in there, we have a few other calls that are ongoing that I think there might be some interesting synergies there. So we would like to encourage synergies with those kind of calls if possible. So you can see they are encouraged, they're not needed, they're not mandatory, they're just encouraged. And I think this would be a good way of moving forward with further work within the Horizon Zero program. Next slide. So when we look into wind energy, obviously there is yet another major issue that we have, right? I mean, we have obviously the issue with further design of wind turbines and them getting taller and taller. But another issue that we have is the point on social acceptance or societal engagement on it. And I think this is something that is a major hindrance on how we're dealing with it right now. So what we really want to work here is specifically with this one call on wind energy in the natural and societal and social environment is looking into the development and the promotion of tools that can be used for enhanced societal engagement. And what we're particularly looking into here is something that can demonstrate how a participatory process can increase the value of wind energy. So what we want to go through those tools and those different models is looking into how the wind turbines can impact the local environment. We're looking into a series of different possibilities on how or different impacts that are possible. It goes from noise, goes from shade, goes from effect on animal life into marine species when we're looking into offshore structures. This is obviously particularly important. Offshore has their own set of extra components that need to be taken care of. And what is important is looking onto how all those different challenges can affect the way how deployment areas are chosen. And most importantly, how can you use this knowledge that come from those different models to improve the way how designs are done in order to take care specifically of those kind of situations. So differently from the previous call where we are looking into designs in order to improve production and just the general production and the design of the farm, not to optimize output. In this one, we're looking into how to have designs or to enhance control strategies in order to minimize those kind of effects that wind energy has, right? Be them on the local communities, be them on the environment. As I said before, with the participatory process, when we want to develop, we also would like to see the development of a forum where regulators, industry, and local communities can exchange information with one another. This forum should be put into a certain situation that those tools that have been developed and have been promoted can be used in order to try to make pretty much an experiment and see how to put all of those things together, how to do all of this in order to improve the way how wind energy is perceived. And finally, looking into how to address those different kind of new technology, new designs into energy innovations and applications. So next slide. So when you look into expected outcomes, I mean, as I put before, I mean, I think that the NIMBY effect is definitely a very powerful one there. So this is really a call targeting this kind of situation. So as I said, I mean, we want to develop and promote modeling tools to be able to do a realistic assessment on how those different relations are taking place between the energy generation components and the local communities. We would like also to develop guidelines mainly dealing with energy citizenship. There is a whole definition of energy citizenship that is found in the text, so I don't need to go over it here, but I think that the whole point is trying to promote a harmonious coexistence between the different communities there. There's also, we think the outcomes that are expected is to increase those outreach activities and to increase social awareness and societal engagement when it comes to wind energy. And ideally, all this kind of work would assure a more smooth identification of future areas for deployment in the future in a way that is in line with our goal of climate neutrality by 2050 and with our expansion of wind energy across Europe. So all of this together, I mean, you can see that we have a combination of environmental impact assessment models and societal engagement models and forums. And what we want to do is exactly see how we can combine those two different situations, right? I mean, one tends to be extremely numerical and very technical, and the other one's a bit more on the soft science side of things. And we want to be able to combine those things into a way how we can combine them into a forum where we put everybody together and we can talk and discuss and how to improve the deployment rates, but also the acceptability on by improving, like designs and those kind of different components in order to increase the way how, or to better the way how wind energy is seen. Next slide. So for this, we expect also about 3 projects, about 3 million euros each. TRL 5 is also expected. And what is also here interesting to put that we would like to have a balanced portfolio, of course. So by doing this, we would be looking into the highest ranking proposal for offshore wind farms and the highest ranking proposal for onshore wind farms in a way that we deal with both of those different communities. And then obviously, because it's 3 projects, we're going to have a third one that's going to be whichever one whichever one's the third highest, let's put it like this. If there is a project that is dealing with both of them, it will be considered that the criteria are matched. So then will be just the 3 highest ranking ones. Next slide. Yeah, so this is obviously a call that requires a lot of contribution from the social sciences and humanities. So we expect them to be involved in the proposals as well. Next slide. So, and this is our innovation action call, looking into floating winds, optimized for different deep waters and for different sea basins. One of the interesting features of Europe, obviously, is that our EU is that we have different kind of seas and oceans around us from the 3 different sides. And so far, wind energy has been very much focused on some areas, specifically like the North Sea and some recent development in the Baltic Sea. Also now some development in the Atlantic, but we have other sea basins that are obviously there, and they have their own kind of challenges. When we look into the Atlantic or the Mediterranean, they tend to get deep, they have different wind conditions and so on and so forth. So due to the situation, we do need to have different kind of innovation calls that are dealing with the different challenges that are happening in those other kind of environment as well. So what we would like to have here with this call is looking into how different innovations on floating wind turbines can positively affect production, pretty much increasing the output of energy. We would like to have a real use scenario. It's particularly important on a real scale. Looking into how different solutions that are proposed in this call can increase life expectancy and reduce costs. We would like to have a demonstration that is focused on mass production. So we're not looking into bespoke designs. We're looking into something that is really geared towards mass production here. What is also particularly important is that we want to document all the demonstrations fully and transparently in order to ensure replicability. If you're looking into mass production, and that's one of the major points here, right? I mean, we want to have a full-scale, real-size, real-use scenario focused at mass production. So replicability is extremely essential. So everything should be extremely well documented in order to make sure that others can also build from those footsteps. We also would like to see a modular design that again is looking into large-scale deployment and ensure a minimum environmental impact of these innovations. So you can see that I think there is a few key pieces here which are important, right? We're looking into increased production, we are looking into lower costs. Very important, we are looking into mass production and replicability. And I think these are the key components of this call, obviously looking at different sea bases. So if you go to the next slide, we can see that beyond that on the scope, because this is an innovation call, we also would like to have a clear go, no go moment. So a moment where within the proposal and within the project, obviously, we're going to have pretty much a certain gate, let's put like this, where we will have to do the analysis of everything that is being done to make sure that we can move towards the next step. This is only to make sure that we don't go into the deployment phase of the project without having everything prepared for it. This helps us from the project manager perspective, but most importantly helps the project, making sure the project has everything ready to go towards that phase. So we would like to have a complete business plan, a complete implementation plan, all the permits and so on and so forth. And this will need to be evaluated by independent experts. And again, I mean, this is a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approach. So we would like to see the contribution of humanities and social sciences scientists or researchers. Next slide. So when we look into the expected outcome of this proposal or of this call, well, bluntly speaking, we are looking to designs that reduces the capex and the opex. I guess this goes without saying. It's obviously needs to be in line with the levelized cost of energy reduction that we have within the set plans. As I said, we want to have cost efficiency scalable solutions. That's the scalable part is really the key point here. And obviously we want to have a demonstration of full scale floating wind turbines prototypes in different sea bases within Europe. Next slide. So we are looking into projects of around 60 million euros with we have a total budget of 50 million. And again, to make sure that, of course, we're going to want to reach TRL7 and to assure that we have a balanced portfolio covering multiple geographical areas. We're also going to be ranking high-ranking proposals addressing different sea bases. So we don't have necessarily, let's put like this, a quota for the, like one Black Sea, one Mediterranean. We don't have something like this, but we don't want to have a situation where we are funding 3 projects that are all in the North Sea or all in the Atlantic. We want to have a spread out of among our different projects. So one Mediterranean, one North Sea, one Atlantic, for instance, or one Black Sea, one Mediterranean, one Baltic Sea. Obviously, we don't have a preference on how this goes, as long as they are in different sea bases. Next slide. There is obviously additional remark here that so the granting authority may object to the transfer of ownership or the exclusive license of the different results. I think this is my last slide, and being so, I think that the next speaker would be my colleague Matthijs, who will be talking about ocean energy. I guess so. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. In fact, it's a start of our first small Q&A questions. We are sort of to back a bit the presentation. I will take and ask the correct question on the topics that have been just now presented. I think it's second question is on the wind topic. So please, Carlos, can you answer the question on the on this topic? If you can read the question, so I can.
No, so it's the one on the relationship between the environment impact assessment models. Okay, yeah. So this one, I mean, as I tried to say during my presentation, I mean, it's a combination of different scenarios, right? We are looking into the environmental impact assessment models, but also that which are very technical, they have a very clear metric behind them. And we're also looking into how to have those different society engagement forums. And the idea is trying to create a situation where we can use one to feed into the other, right? I mean, try to create this forum, as I said, putting the local communities, regulators and industrialists or innovators all together in a way how you can actually try to use one to feed into the other, right? I mean, how to use those models in order to support the decisions that are being put into this other forum. So this is the idea on the relationship between them and how to help, pretty much having models that are being validated before in order to support the way how this, let's put like this soft science forum is going to be working. So this is the relation that is envisioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. As there is a question, in fact, from Maria about concerning the GRC partnership. It's only for the selected. The question is, it is only for the selected projects, but in the proposal, they must already have the partners the GRC mention what they are supposed to do.
Yes, in fact, the JRC may participate and may come only after into the project, only after a proposal is selected for funding. However, at the submission, before the proposal is submitted, the consortium must consider and must include in the proposal the JRC, that it may participate if the proposal is selected for funded. And they must attribute to JRC a number of tasks. They can seek into the JRC internet and find which are the tasks that can be carried by the JRC. They can be included in the proposal, and only after the proposal is selected for funding, then, and based on what is already attributed as tasks to the JRC, then the JRC may be added as a beneficiary, but without EC funding. So into the contract after having negotiated with the consortia its participation. But it will always be after the selection of the proposal, after the proposal is selected for funding, and then the JRC will participate as a zero-funded beneficiary, but it will be a beneficiary of the project.
Thank you, Maria. I think we have another question on the topic, on the wind topic on 05. And it's about the validated model. So, Carlos, can you answer this question? The question is.
No, I think this one I just answered. No, it's the one that they envisage the relationship.
Okay.
EAE models, yes.
Okay. I think this is the last one on the top of the bottom. On
yes, of course.
12, the DAS, the Northeast Atlantic Ocean Basin includes in the.
Yeah, so I mean, we used it in order to avoid having to redefine how all those different sea basins are categorized. I put a footnote into the call that clearly defines which areas are considered to be the different sea basins, and it's Directive 2008-56, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and in it actually has, like which area does it belong to. If I'm not mistaken, the Canary is just considered to be part of the Atlantic, so it is there. So
okay.
Yeah.
Fine, it's a good question. I think we will stop the small Q&A question here, and
actually, there is also the other question on the same topic there. 12.
Okay, that's also for Carlos. I think this. Thank you, Piero. Carlos, is the question D0312? It's a question on the equipment. The one on the top here, according to option 2 in the article. So
yeah, I mean, this one I honestly need to look into the details of the cost. I think that's I don't think it's the full cost can be declared. Yeah.
Okay. For the questions that we can't answer, we will reply to the frequently asked questions. So I think we'll stop the small session, Q&A session now. We will repeat and take again all the questions at the end. So now I will leave the floor to my colleague Matthijs Söder, who is going to present his topic on ocean energy and geothermal. Matthijs, to you.
Thank you, Philippe. Good morning. Happy to contribute to this information day. Can I see the first slides already? I think it's also nice for the audience. First, we continue this session, and the first topic is on ocean energy, and especially focused on wave energy. Demonstration of wave energy devices to increase the experience in real sea condition. What we have in mind is that wave energy developers demonstrate their devices in real sea conditions. So it's not onshore, it's really in the sea for a longer period of time, really 12 to 24 months. And that's really a strict rule for this topic, that you have to demonstrate it for such a longer time. And it will provide learnings. And you're not just demonstrating a device that it is working, but you have to think as well, how do I know more about the performance, reliability, availability, maintainability, survivability, and also the environmental impact. So in your demonstration program, you really have to build up maybe experiments to see what is going on and that you can get these learnings. It might be that in advance of the project, you're using key subsystems which are tested on a test rig and in implementation of the project and in the first year before you go into the water. But it has to be done in a very early stage of the project, and to be sure that we can, after a go, no-go moment, and you see that in the end of the projects, and my colleague Kadu explained already this go, no-go moment, which is very important, that the things are ready for the deployment phase. Now, in the proposal, you really have to address as well that the industrial design and manufacturing processes to be lean, thinking about the use of the materials, circularity of the materials, scalability installations. And what you have to think as well, and it was already in the first bullet point about environmental impact, you really need to think as well about, hey, when I'm doing the experiments, the demonstration, how do I measure the impact of the device on the surroundings? And you have to include that in the plan. Can I have the next slides? As I told you already, a go, no-go moment, as my colleague already explained earlier, and that might be after 1 year or 18 months in a relatively early stage, that you really show that you're ready to deploy the wave energy devices in the water and to start the measurements or the demonstration for 12 to 24 months. You need to have the permits. If you don't have them at the time of the proposal writing, you should show that you already have been thinking about it, that you started the process already. Sometimes an environmental permit can take a long time, especially when it is not in an official testing site. If you use a testing site, it might have that is a shorter procedure for that because they have already the experiments. But you have to show that you're ready and that you can really do this demonstration project. It really shouldn't have any delay, no surprises. That's what we would like. Next slide. And the project's results are expected to contribute to all of the following: demonstrate performance and reliability, improve knowledge on the operation of the wave energy devices. It should also indicate the reduction of the levelized cost of energy using a recognized calculation methodology. You have to think as well about how can be the industrial supply chain in Europe. That it really reinforces the industry in Europe, and when a positive result, the test as such that it will attract private investors, and that's what we really would like to see as an outcome as well of these projects. Next slide, please. The type of the action is an innovation action. What is not mentioned in the official call text is that the TRL level, but it should be TRL 7 to 8 by the end of the project. That really shows demonstration at sea longer periods of time. Specific topic conditions. The page limit of the proposal can be longer. Normally it's 45 pages for research and innovation actions, and but because it's an innovation actions, you have a few pages more. If you can do it in 45, it's still okay. It's a maximum. The granting authority may object to a transfer of the exclusive licensing. The maximum budget available is 15 million, and the deadline is on the 5th of January 2022. So I think this is a topic on wave energy devices. So can I have the next topic maybe, and later on to the questions? That is a topic on innovative foundations, floating substructures, and connecting systems for floating PV and ocean energy devices. And as you can see already in the title, wind energy is not mentioned. So it's really focused on floating PV and ocean energy devices. Wind is already in the previous topic demonstrated by my colleague, Lima de Cunha. The action is expected to test and validate potential benefits of new circular materials in offshore floating PV and ocean energy substructures, foundations. You can have also new designs. If relevant, you can consider moorings and anchoring systems. It's part, in fact, of the substructure. Ensuring structural integrity and durability, considering very high wind speeds, over 25 meters per second, currents, more than 1.2 meters per second, and waves, and really big storms, in fact. Loads and corrosion and biofouling and on all elements of the ocean energy systems should be considered. The project as well test and validate new prototype components and materials used in the offshore floating PV and ocean energy devices, and verify that they are compatible with and resistant to the marine environment. Corrosion is an important issue. Research materials properties and behavior in combination with the use of improved predictive computational modeling tools that will be very helpful to make decisions. And the action is expected as well to do research, develop, and validate improved predictive computational modeling tools for the material properties based on some experience. Next slide, please. This is the scope. Now, this is you can use existing test facilities and related research infrastructures for the purpose of the project. You have to consider already in an early stage when you're working in the ocean environment to think about the social science and humanities disciplines. That is also to increase the acceptance and the commitment of the people to invest in ocean energy and floating PV. I think that's very helpful. And the selected projects are expected to contribute to participate to the activities of the project bridge, which is mainly focused on knowledge exchange. We organize in the bridge that different projects of Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe are coming together to exchange experiences and also the progress in the respective fields on offshore. Next slide. The project results are expected to contribute to all of the following expected outcomes, and you see reliability, installability, operational maintainability coming back, more knowledge on mechanical joints and energy connection systems for ocean energy devices or floating PV, better understanding as well about the real life performance, allowing a safe reduction in the over-engineering, because you have the feeling as well that current substructures are a bit too much. The less material you can use in the future, the better it is, and will reduce the cost as well. We would like to realize a reduction of the LCOE, and it will also help, and as an outcome, to the contribution to the objectives of the mission on healthy ocean, seas, and coastal and inland waters, where we would like to see decarbonization as of the maritime sector. Next slide, please. It's a research and innovation action. TRL at the end is 4 to 5. A special condition is that the granting authority may object to a transfer of ownership of the exclusive licensing of results under certain conditions. It might be that they say, okay, you have to use it first in Europe before you use it somewhere else. And that is behind. They may object, so it's not yet obligatory, or it's already not stated now, but it will be discussed during the grant preparations. The EU contribution is expected around 3.5 million. Total indicative budget is available as 10 million, so most likely we will support 3 projects. Opening is after the summer, but the deadline, that's the most important, is the 23rd of February 2022. Okay, I would like to go to the next topic now, and that is on geothermal energy. And there we really would like to see projects which provide solutions for more sustainable geothermal energy. The proposal is expected to develop and validate innovative sustainable circularity by design solutions, that it reduces environmental impact and increase the overall circularity of geothermal energy. But the environmental impact is important, and in fact the social impact as well, that you really have to think, okay, what can be a solution to have even a large-scale deployment later on for the sector. The following can be considered. It doesn't mean that you have to address them all, the 4 bullet points, but it's giving you a bit of an idea of what we are thinking about. You can think about capture of greenhouse gases, storage or re-injection schemes for the development and exploitation of geothermal reservoirs, thinking about the non-condensable gases or the use of alternative fluids to the brine. Other techniques for reservoir development and exploitation in a wider range of geological settings, including complex and untested geological conditions, potential introduction or demonstration of innovative technologies as part of existing geothermal plants. It might be a bit in an early stage, but that can improve current operations. And think about novel methods and technologies to find and develop productivity from near magnetic, superhot, supercritical zones that are currently unexploitable and non-commercial. It is really a research and innovation action. And what I say, you don't have to address all the bullets. You can consider, but it might be as well that you have say, this is also a solution for more sustainable geothermal energy. So it's relatively open. But we would like to have an effective contribution of the social sciences and humanities disciplines and the involvement of social science and humanities experts, because we see as well a lot of resistance in some areas to geothermal energy. And we think it's very important to involve these disciplines in an early stage to increase the deployment later on. Next slide. The outcomes, performance and reliability improvement, or shallow deep geothermal systems, reduced environmental impact of geothermal plants, reduced risk of seismicity, increased citizen engagement for geothermal energy, reduction of the levelized cost of energy, and an energy efficient, environmentally sound, and economically viable generation of electricity and or heating and cooling from geothermal resources. The applications are both in a wide range of geological settings, enabling geothermal energy development in new regions and supporting application concepts for local energy supply. Next slide, please. It's a type of action is a research innovation action, which I mentioned already, TRL5 at the end of the project. The total contribution is expected around 5 million. Total budget is 10, so we will fund most likely 2 projects. Again, the opening is 2nd of September and the deadline 23rd of February 2022. It's very important that you read the text very carefully by yourself and as it is. This is my presentation, and I think I have to hand it over now to the next topic, which is will be presented by Maria Giorgiado. I would expect.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will introduce you now to the 3 next topics on renewable fuels and biofuels. And I start with the first topic, which is on hybrid catalytic conversion on renewable energy to carbon neutral fuels. What is really happening here is that the proposals will develop hybrid catalytic conversion processes, combining chemical, electrochemical, biological, biochemical, and thermochemical catalytic processes to convert renewable energy to carbon neutral renewable fuels of biological, meaning biofuels, or non-biological origin other than hydrogen. This is because these fuels need to respond to longer-term future demands for high energy density carriers in sectors that rely on liquid fuels. The proposals to develop and combine novel catalysts and linked lab-scale components and/or systems. And this should improve significantly the performance regarding the conversion efficiency and the specific marginal cost reduction. Now, they can combine, if appropriate, catalysts and/or systems that have a dual function, for example, a catalyst and a solvent or other. But they should combine at least 2 different catalyst types into a multi-catalytic single material, if this is, of course, appropriate, as it's appropriate. So the whole thing here is these catalytic systems and their components, system components, should be improved, the conversion of a broad variety of molecules that come from the same feedstock. This means that they have to convert more molecules from the same feedstock and also provide a broader application of hybrid catalytic systems in order to be able to upscale these processes more easily. As I said, they should improve significantly the conversion efficiency and the specific marginal cost reduction, maximize the greenhouse gas emissions abatement, and for this topic in particular, we encourage international cooperation. This is not an eligibility condition, but it is strongly encouraged. And here we have to pay attention that the combination of hydrogen electrolytic production and separate use for CO2 catalytic conversion is not in the scope, as is not in the scope hydrogen as a final product. Next slide, please. So the expected outcomes from this topic, because carbon neutral fuels are breakthrough solutions for longer term demands for high energy density carriers, as I said, in sectors relying on renewable fuels, this, when they develop, they will advance the scientific basis. They provide leadership and global role in renewable fuels. So what we expect from the project results to contribute to all of the following outcomes. to foster the availability of synergetic catalytic systems for carbon-neutral renewable fuels, to improve the performance of carbon-neutral renewable fuels and European competitiveness, and to accelerate development of efficient carbon-neutral renewable fuels. Next slide, please. The specific conditions of this topic are the following. It is actually a research and innovation action, and the technology readiness level should be brought at 3 to 4 by the end of the project. So it is a really low TRL topic. The indicative budget for the topic is 10 million, and the expected EU contribution per project is about 3.3 million. So we expect to fund 3 projects. The opening date will be 2 September of 2021, and the deadline is the 23rd of February 2022. Next slide, please. Now we move to the second topic, which is about carbon negative sustainable biofuel production. Here, proposals to develop cost-effective solutions to minimize the carbon waste in the sustainable biofuel production. This means that they have either to inhibit the biogenic influent gas emissions or to capture these biogenic emissions and use them for fuel synthesis, either by recycling it in the same process in situ or downstream for separate renewable fuel production. Now, they should incorporate biological and or chemical or other type of capture of the biogenic effluent gas emissions. They should include also an innovative approach for the biogenic carbon storage. As an example, it is when they will produce biochar, they have to integrate this biochar production into the whole process of the biofuel production. So, hydrogen, renewable, can be synergetically used, and the kind of synergies of this type may be developed with the topic, because this will actually increase the efficiency of the biomass conversion. Now, the proposals should prove that there are really negative biogenic emissions on a life cycle assessment, and they should actually prove that the solution enhances the sustainability potential of the biofuel production. Also, they should address socioeconomic aspects. Next slide, please. So here, the expected outcomes are the following. The reusing or inhibiting of the biogenic influent gases from biofuel production in the same process increases the biomass conversion efficiency and the sustainability potential of the overall resource and energy efficiency of the biomass utilization. So that will increase the biofuel technology competitiveness and acceptance, and the project results are expected to contribute to all of the following expected outcomes: increase the bioenergy efficiency and sustainability, increase the sustainable biomass resource utilization, and generate negative emissions from the biofuel production. Next slide, please. The specific conditions of the topic are the following. The topic is a research and innovation action, and the TRL level should be brought at TRL 4 or 5 by the end of the project. The contribution of the EU, the indicative budget is 15 million, and the expected EU contribution per project is 5 million. So we expect to fund 3 projects. The topic opens on the 2nd of September 2021, and the deadline for submission of proposals is the 23rd of February 2022. Next slide, please. So the final topic under the biofuels and renewable fuels section for this year is the innovative biomethane production as an energy carrier and as a fuel. Here, as the topic says, the proposal should demonstrate cost-effective and innovative biomethane production. The processes that can be used are thermochemical, biochemical, chemical, electrochemical, and biological pathways, including, as an example, the gasification of sustainable biomass and biogenic waste, or CO2 influence from anaerobic digestion, or fermentation processes combined with renewable hydrogen and water. The goal is to improve the production efficiency, to reduce the cost, to minimize the greenhouse gas emissions, and increase the sustainability of the biomethane production. There should do this, the proposals, by a circularity approach for the energy and the material that it is involved in the process. And they should optimize the production of biomethane with a benchmark the conventional technologies of the biogas upgrading to biomethane. So this optimization should go beyond the conventional biogas upgrading to biomethane. This is a demonstration topic, and thus the demonstrators should be fully and transparently documented to ensure the replicability, the upscaling, and to assist future planning decisions. Next slide, please. So, biomethane is a renewable substitute of natural gas and that provides energy storage capability. So, it can be considered as a flexible renewable energy carrier that can be fed to the existing gas grid, of course, complying with quality standards and having an affordable price. So the project results are expected to contribute to all of the following expected outcomes. First, to increase the cost effectiveness of the conversion in biomethane production. Then, to diversify the conversion technology basis for biomethane production. To contribute to the market uptake of biomethane-related technologies in the gas market, and to contribute to the priorities of the set plan Action 8 on renewable fuels and bioenergy. And next slide, please. The specific conditions in this topic, we have admissibility conditions that are described in the General Annex A, with one exception, that the page limit of this application should be 70, of the application should be 70 pages, because this is an innovation action. So the type of the action is an innovation action, and the projects are expected to achieve TRL 6 to 7 by the end of the project. The EU contribution and the indicative budget for this topic is 20 million, and the expected EU contribution per project is 10 million. So we expect to fund 2 projects. The topic opens on 2nd September 2021, and the deadline is on the 23rd of February 2022. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. And I pass the floor to Thomas Schlecker, who will present you the topics on bioenergy and hydropower.
Thank you very much, Maria. And good morning to everybody. Thank you very much, Maria. Good morning, everybody. I will present you the topics on bioenergy first. This is basically targeting use of biomass for heating and power generation. And the first topic is the topic targeting cost-effective micro CHP and hybrid heating systems. This topic specifically targets the innovative use of bioenergy at household level. So in scope here is the development of new technologies for biomass micro CHP systems, including, for example, high-efficiency supercritical CHP systems, with embedded integration of other renewables into hybrid heating systems. And this all for maximizing, of course, as a result, the overall share of renewables at household, and or we include also multi-family level, and also the important scope to advance also in emissions reductions here. In scope also is here to improve the integration of compatible renewable technologies in household or in bigger family parties, generators, of heat and power. And this should help to make these solutions attractive by addressing technological bottlenecks, the technical efficiency of these systems, very importantly, the cost effectiveness, which you see also in the title of the topic, and of course the socio-economic as well as the environmental sustainability of these solutions. Next slide, please. The expected outcomes are here, some or more of the following. This is increased technical performance, robustness, feasibility of the solutions, and also penetration of renewables at household levels, so to increase this. And we see these systems as one of the viable paths there. Increase technology leadership and competitiveness of the European industry in this sector, and also increased production share of renewables at consumer levels. Expected outcomes are also increased sustainability of actually these renewable-based energy systems at consumer level. Next slide, please. The specific conditions of this topic. So the expected EU contribution for a project is between 3 and 5 million euros, with a total indicative budget of 10 million. This we expect around 3 projects to be funded here. This is research and innovation action, and technologies are expected to reach TRL 5 at the end of the project. And opening now in September, and with the deadline for submission on the 23rd February 2022. And please look at the specific text, of course, of the topic in the work program. Next slide, please. The next topic is about large-scale CHP, so about demonstration of large-scale CHP technologies for a shift to the use of biogenic residues and waste. So here we are specifically targeting the big opportunity of transforming fossil CHP to renewable CHP plants. And the scope here is the demonstration of cost-effective and efficient technologies for retrofitting of fossil CHP systems today, and this is important, complete use of regionally sourced sustainable biogenic residues and wastes, or one can also use derived intermediate bioenergy carriers. And here again, for continuous cost-effective and low-emission operations. So importantly, we are not looking for a partial shift of this plant, but to a full transformation from fossil use to bioenergy CHP plants. Proposals are expected to address long-term scenarios for flexible and modular operation with the energy system network. So also basically this should really address how these plants then can now in the future energy system contribute, and document all demonstrators fully and transparently to ensure replicability, upscaling, and to assist future planning decisions. Next slide, please. Now the expected outcomes are some of the following: advance the European scientific base and increase the competitiveness of the technology in the area of bioenergy. Here we target in particular penetration of renewables, regional development. It's very important here since we refer to regional value chains, cost reduction and feedstock enlargement, and therefore supporting the EU goals for climate protection, energy independence, and economic growth, and to contribute to technology de-risk, retrofitting of large-scale CHP to bioenergy. We see this topic as a necessary step before scaling up at commercial levels. So we hope for solutions which can be replicated then after easily and also more, let's say, efficient, and to allow for high penetration in the energy system to ensure stability and security of energy supply and gain efficiency and costs in transforming the energy system on decarbonized basis, in particular by reducing the capex. I think this is a big opportunity of the retrofitting for bioenergy capacity and also for baseload capability of these plants. and to enhance the sustainability of the renewable energy and the fuel value chains by addressing socioeconomic and environmental sustainability aspects of the value chain and the life cycle. Next slide, please. Now here we see that this topic has an expected EU contribution per project of around 10 million euros, and with a total indicative budget of the same amount, we expect one project to be implemented here. This is an innovation action. Please also look at the specific admissibility conditions regarding the page limit here, and solutions are expected to achieve technology readiness level 7 at the end of the project. And opening deadlines the same, so deadline submission on 23rd of February 22. Next slide, please. Now I will present hydropower, and here we have the topic on development of hydropower equipment for hidden hydropower. Under hidden hydropower, we understand solutions which are integrated, let's say, in existing water infrastructure, so not per se designed hydropower plants. So here the scope is the development of hydropower equipment for such hidden and therefore unrealized hydropower by developing, this is important, novel technologies which allow for increased techno-economic feasibility and sustainable hydropower production in non-hydropower hydraulic systems with low head and or small reservoir or water body size and or impaired water quality, for example, salt water. So all kind of water infrastructure or let's say hidden hydropower possibilities which are not easily addressed already by existing hydropower solution. And we also think that this really, it may involve prosumer solutions here, because we are definitely here also looking at smaller scale plants, which can make this interesting for citizens and communities as well. Next slide, please. And here we come to the expected outcomes. So here, to advance the European scientific base, leadership and global role in the area of sustainable hydropower. This is important in this area, while also creating evidence for policy making, as we are targeting here, let's say, rather new or more new concept. Important also to have evidence in this respect regarding future policies, and to also, of course, create additional hydropower capacity in addition to the existing fleet, and for the European technology industry here to advance the competitiveness in the sector, and also to support the EU goals for climate protection, energy independence, and economic growth. Sustainability is key, so it is expected outcomes is also to enhance sustainability of added hydropower capacities by addressing social, economic, and environmental aspects, and by promoting prosumer renewable energy, for example, in cities and communities. Next slide, please. Here we have an expected EU contribution per project of between 3 and 5 million euros, and a total indicative budget of 10 million, meaning around 3 projects we expect to be funded, 2 to 3 projects. This is a research innovation action, and also the technology should achieve TRL 5 at the end of the project, and the deadline for submission also 23 February 22. And next slide, please. With this, I hand over to Carlos.
Okay, so I'm gonna be just taking over here from the, now we're gonna be talking a bit about sustainability. So we have also a CSA call here where we're going to be looking into sustainability and education aspects of the renewable energies and renewable fuel technologies in general. So what we want here is that we want to have you want to have a platform where you're going to be promoting and accelerating development of sustainable solutions. So what is really key here in this context when you talk about sustainable solutions is that we're talking about circularity by design, pretty much, and specifically with the look into life cycle assessments. And pretty much also looking into identifying and assessing external or relevant externalities. So what we would like to do here with this call is that we want to have a structured program that will promote a multidisciplinary approach on teaching and engaging with sustainability in renewable energies and renewable fuel technologies. One key aspect of this call also is that we want to have a clear post-project life. So pretty much seeing how this proposal will be put and will be leaving after the end of the project. So we would like here to develop and run an industry academia program that is going to be focused on hands-on training and looking into how to identify and act on knowledge gaps and how to retrain opportunities or retraining opportunities. So this is a lot about the human capital. It's a lot about developing, creating a program that is going to be developing the human capital for the workforce that we are going to be needing in the future. Again, looking into renewable energies and renewable fuel sources, focus on circularity by design. If we go to the next slide, you can see that some of the expected outcomes, as I said, is really looking into how to better engage with stakeholders, how to train them in order to be able to deal with this change that is coming upon us. So it's a lot about the promotion of sustainability in all its environment, in all its kind of different contexts. We're looking into air pollution, waste management, wildlife concerns. And it's a lot about the support and development of training in the reskilling efforts. So the goal here of this call is exactly this: deal with this with human capital that we have and promote them and train them in order to be able to be a critical part of this solution that we're building for the future. I also highlighted in this call a few different policies that we have that might help structure the whole program. Specifically here, I mentioned the circular economy action plan, the action plan also on critical raw materials. Also mentioned, obviously, the offshore renewable energy as energy strategy, but this is a specific technology one. The other ones are a bit more cross-cutting, so to say. So next slide. So we are looking here into a project of about 2.5 million euros. So as you can see, we're expecting pretty much about four projects. As I said, it's a coordination supporting action. So this is the thing that we would like to see more in the future. And I think that's my last slide for this one call. If so, thank you very much. And I think now Philip Child will go from here with market uptake.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, I will now, in fact, present the more cross-cutting type of topics going over all the technologies, and then starting with the market uptake measure. Please, next slides. So there, it's really a very broad type of topic where we are. It's a coordination support action. So the proposal is really expected to develop the solution addressing at least two of the expected outcomes. So that will present the next slide. So, and it's addressed for all the entire renewable energy market, or could be focusing on a specific sector, such as electricity, heating, cooling, or renewable energy. The proposal can also address issues that are within a specific geographical region, such as urban area or peri-urban areas, looking possibly at acceptance of renewable energy technologies due to cultural heritage landscape particularity, to self-consumption, international aspect. It can address a local challenge, but if it does, it will need that it has a wide potential of replication and a long-term viability. So it's not limited to an ad hoc fix. And wherever it is relevant, it can address regional specificities, socioeconomic, gender-related, spatial, environmental aspects that could be considered from a life cycle perspective, and also contribute to social science and humanities. It could also assess the legal, institutional, and political framework at local, national, and European level. So you see, the scope is very broad and very open. Next slide. So as I said before, it has to address at least two of the expected outcomes. So the expected outcomes are to facilitate the wider uptake of renewable energy system in the energy, industrial, and residential sector, leading to an increased share of renewable energy in the final energy consumption by 2030 and beyond. It can have expected outcome in contributing to provide a basis for policymakers and stakeholders for developing a more informed renewable energy policy and for analyzing about the market dynamics, which include all renewable energies. Or contributes to the development of the market and respective financial framework that can operate efficiently and incentive compatible while accommodating a massive share of renewable energy, and increase social acceptance of renewable energy facilities and installation through a science-based evidence and tools addressing misperception phenomena from citizens. Next slide. So in terms of eligibility condition is a standard condition. It's coordinating support actions. Because it's more a soft approach, policy-oriented approach, there is no technology readiness level. The total indicative budget for the topic is 10 million, and we expect that per project it should be around 2 million to address correctly the topic, the issues. So you see that we are expecting about 5 projects to be funded. So the deadline for this topic is on the 5th of January 2022. Next slide, please. So now thank you. I'm going to present the international cooperation with a focus on Africa. The topic is the African Union, European Union Water Energy Nexus, Food Nexus. The scope is the proposal should then develop tests and models for decision makers and planners to implement energy infrastructure and energy supply in Africa. Which safeguard a systematic approach to the water energy food nexus. These models can be based on existing reliable source codes and model, and test case should be made on the case of an existing African water basin. We expect participation of the societal stakeholders that is important. Action should promote the highest standard in terms of transparency in model adoption, going beyond simple documentation of the models and extending to the aspects such as the assumption of the model, the architecture, the codes, and the data. The outcome of the project should be widely disseminated, and the source code of the model should be open access to stimulate future development. To ensure future use, model experts, African experts in water energy nexus and in model development should be full partners in the projects. And the project should identify further local training needs. So you see that the focus is really on what the African environment and local conditions are. And it's really to develop a model for policy making. Next slide. So the expected outcome is to reinforce the activity of the long-term EU high-level policy dialogue, climate change and sustainable energy partnership. This topic was initiated through that partnership. It's there also to provide knowledge and scientific modeling as evidence base of the water energy food nexus, including the environmental, social, and economic trade-off to contribute to research, innovation, strategy, and policy making. We expect that it will help the increase of clean energy generation in the African energy system, and also to develop a sustained network of African experts and expertise in that field. It will also improve in the long-term governance to the advanced knowledge and scientific modeling of the water energy food nexus, including environmental, social, economic trade-off. The governance aspects should be included since they are underrepresented in the current research work. Next slide, please. So the total indicative budget of this topic is 5 million. We expect that per project to have about 2.5 million. So we do expect about 2 projects. The type of action is a research and innovation action. And the technology readiness level, the activities are expected in terms of modeling to achieve at least TRL 4 by the end of the project. We have a special condition for this topic. At least 3 partners from 3 different African countries must be part of the consortium on top of the standard condition for eligibility. There, the opening of the topic will be on beginning of September and the deadline on the 23rd February 2022. Next slide, please. So the final topic that I will present is in the renewable energy field, our fully bottom-up, or if you are familiar with the expression, is our FET topic, Future Emerging Technologies. The scope is, the first bullet is quite important. We are not going to cover pure material research. Pure material research is addressed under cluster 6. We are not addressing conventional hydrogen production. This is addressed under the hydrogen and fuel cell joint undertaking. And we are not addressing batteries. This is under address, I think is memory correct, is destination 2 on looking at storage and batteries. Fuel cells, some activities on fuel cells can be addressed on the destination 2 on the breakthrough topic that there is in destination 2. So as I said, the proposal is expected to address high-risk, high-return technology development for game-changing renewable energy technologies. And this could include dedicated catalyst development or storage system, integration of renewable energy technology into a single energy generation system, heat and cooling system, fuel production, hybrid electricity generation, solution that can mix different renewable energy sources into one system, or direct utilization of renewable energy source to produce, for example, renewable hydrogen or fuels. And this is within the scope. So it's broad, but it's really focused on renewable energy source and renewable energy technology conversions. The proposal should address the fact that this new technology should have a lower environmental impact, better resource efficiency than current commercial renewable energy technologies, to look at the social acceptance or possible resistance of the introduction of these technologies, the issues that this new technology could imply into the socio-economic and livelihood, and also what could prevent this technology through the current regulatory framework, a good integration or a good take-up. And obviously to document the research process thoroughly. Next slides, please. So the proposal and the project results are expected to contribute to all the following expected outcome: to have an available breakthrough and game-changing technology, energy technologies, renewable energy technology, enabling a faster transition to a net zero greenhouse gas emission EU by 2050, to increase knowledge and scientific proof of the technical feasibility of the concept, including the environmental, social, and economic benefit, to contribute to a research and innovation strategy and policy forecast, and also to establish a solid, long-term, dependable European innovation base. Next slide. So the standard eligibility condition, it's research and innovation actions. We expect that the project will reach TRL 3 and 4 because we expect that the project will start quite at the low TRL. The total indicative budget is 33 million euros. We expect that the EU contribution per project is about 3 million. So you see that we are expecting a lot of projects, about 11 projects. There, the opening will be on the 2nd of September this year, and the deadline on the 23rd February 2022. And this, in fact, concludes the presentation of all the topic for this destination. And we will start now the Q&A session. And I will start asking the question. And the first question on the top is about topic D3003. It's a bioenergy topic. I think it's for Maria Jojado. Could you define renewable energy? Meaning, can, for example, biomass-derived syngas be used as a starting point?
Okay, thank you, Philippe. We have to understand here that the syngas is not a standardized gas. So we would not like to limit the catalyst, hybrid catalytic development to a part only of the overall process, which is the downstream conversion of syngas, the upgrading of syngas to biomethane. In case that biomass is used as a renewable energy resource, because this is a renewable energy resource, should be converted to the biological origin renewable fuel, then the catalytic system and components should encompass the whole production. This is different when you start from CO2 and renewable hydrogen to make catalytically a product, renewable fuel of non-biological origin.
Thank you, Maria. I think the next question is to you also, is about the topic D0308. Is the scope limited to biomass, meaning wood pellet, or can biomass-based pyrolysis oil or HVO be considered as a starting point?
This is for Thomas.
Sorry, Thomas. Sorry, it's for Thomas. Thomas?
Yes.
I think the question is for you, is on topic 8. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Is the scope of the topic limited to biomass, meaning wood pellet, or can biomass-based pyrolysis oil or HVO be considered as a starting point?
I think this is not defined here to this extent. So we cannot put the slide, right?
No. I think it will be with.
No, I think this is open to the biomass also. I will need to. Can we post it in 1 second, Philippe? So,
yeah. Okay. I'll let you look at the topic and come back. I think the next question on 03, I think is back to Maria. I think.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory to have a partner outside the EU? What should be the nature of the partnership? Will they be eligible for funding?
So this topic does not say that it is mandatory. The topic in the scope says that it is encouraged. The reason is that at these technologies and at this TRL level, there is a lot of international interest for collaboration. Now, what will be the nature of the partnership? They can participate as a third country in the consortium. In case that this third country can receive funding according to the list of countries that can receive, it's okay, they can. If they can't, because it is one of the developed countries, Japan, US, Canada, for example, others, then they should seek funding from their own country through a co-funding mechanism. And currently, this topic has been, let's say, selected from our international cooperation service here in the Commission as one to which they explore what kind of co-funding can be developed, for example, with Japan. So this is not, the topic says that in general, international cooperation is encouraged.
Thank you, Maria. I think the next question is for Matthijs. Is concerned the topic D30310. It is excluded in this call, the wind energy generation.
Thank you, Philippe. As I already explained in the earlier, it's indeed for ocean energy and floating PV, and wind will be excluded. We have a topic already on floating wind, so their aspects on substructures can be addressed.
Thank you, Matthijs. The next question is also for Thomas. Are you ready to answer the question? Okay, I will answer the third question. It's about the topic that I just described. Is about the topic D30302, the breakthrough, the next generation renewable energy technologies, is a work on PCM materials totally excluded according to the text description. Pure material research, meaning developing pure materials, this is excluded, but using material and maybe adapting a bit of the material, this could be included. We are looking at developing new renewable energy technologies. So we're not focusing exclusively on, we're not focusing on materials. As I say, materials, dedicated development of materials will be done under cluster 6. But if there is a material that exists and being developed for an energy purpose, and I think one of the typical would be a photovoltaic type of materials that exist already, and you just adapt it to make it better. Well, Thomas is not yet back to us, so I will continue. I think the next question on the same topic. Is it possible to consider TRL 5, which could be slightly higher than expected? Well, going to TRL 5, meaning that you are going to a demonstration type, it will be possible, but you have to be convincing that you are going from TRL 2, which means that you only have barely the concepts being sort of proven to a full-scale demonstration. So it's and that you're doing it in 3 years, for example. So unless it's a very simple system, it may not be possible because the project is starting, either at TRL 2 or TRL 3 if you want to reach 3 or 4. So this is sort of the level. But sort of, we're expecting at least TRL 3 or 4. I think TRL 5, you have to prove and make sure that you can do it. Again, on the same topic, are some use cases recommended for the industrial? Some use cases recommended for the industrial and or domestic sector to be considered in the future project exploitation. If I understand the questions, that sort of, sorry, I'm paraphrasing your questions, is that you're looking if the application of the technology you are developing could be for some domestic sector or industrial sectors. Yes, it can be. I think because the topic scope is not only to develop new renewable energy conversion, but also to integrate those renewable energy conversion into a single energy system that can be used. So you can integrate different technology together. So the objective of your project could be for dedicated industrial application or even a domestic sector. That's it.
I think Thomas is back, Philippe.
Okay, Thomas. You have two questions.
For the technical problems, yeah, I can answer now both of them.
Okay.
For the first question regarding biomass, I mean, this is not specified in particular if such intermediates can be included, meaning this is not say excluded. The topic talks about biomass, micro CHP system. Of course, it needs to be taken into consideration that we are looking here at innovative technologies. Regarding the second question, regarding the power level, this is not specified with a given number here. But I think the size becomes clear because what is in scope is either, let's say, household or multifamiliar level. So we are definitely below district level, and it's also not, let's say, industrial heating, which is foreseen. So we have either one or several parties here. I think this should be substantially clear that the respective size becomes clear then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. The next question are for Matthijs on topic 02, the demo of wave energy device to increase experience in real sea condition. Does devices mean expectation is more than one device and or developer? I think
very good question. Not easy to answer, I think. Indeed, in the topic, it's wave energy devices. Should it be then more than one? In fact, it's more the group. So it could be as well one device or one developer for the project. No, it's really about a demonstration of wave energy. But reading the topic very carefully, there are several options indeed possible that you use, or that you have a small array of 2 or 3 devices. That's possible. It's in the scope that you do 2 different developers, 2 different types of devices. It should be, of course, wave is also possible. But what I would like to really say, it should be a credible story. We are putting as well a go, no go moment where you have to be sure that the devices will be tested, go into water, and the whole project should be credible. And that means as well that you should have a kind of a reasoning. Why would you put 2 or 3 different devices in the water? Why would you do an experiment with 2 or 3 devices? I think that's very important, that the experts who will assess the proposal, you have to buy them in fact. That you have to convince them. It should be a good story.
Thank you, Matthijs. I think the next question is also for the same topic, that the topic does not mention an expected starting or finishing TRL. Can you advise what the expectation may be, please?
Yeah, already in my presentation, I said, hey, there is nothing on the TRLs, but it's TRL 7, 8 at the end. Considering as well that you have to test devices for 12 to 24 months at sea conditions, in real sea conditions. So that's clearly the higher TRL. You're not putting any starting TRL. But again, you have to convince that you're ready to do the test. You have some pre-testing, that you are at a certain level that you can really be successful for the demonstration. But again, it should be credible. Show that you are already at a certain TRL, that you did already some testing before at earlier stages. And indeed, we didn't put any starting TRLs, and I think it's in more topics now like that as well, because sometimes in some areas you can go easily up in several TRLs in a very short time. And although in ocean energy development it takes more time, so you can't get from TRL 2. I'm not convinced that you can go from TRL 2 to TRL 7, 8 within 3-4 years.
Thank you, Matthijs. The next question is for Carlos. Is on the innovation floating wind. Is there, in fact, in the same question, is there a minimum indicative TRL to start the project? So you have the same question for your topic.
Well, I think that, I'll have to take the same lines here as Matthijs, right? I don't believe in a huge jump, right? You cannot go from TRL 2 to TRL 7. So why I don't think there is a minimum indicative, I guess that you probably have to be between 5 and 4 or somewhere along those lines. You can. One cannot jump too much. So I would guess that you need to be probably around 5 in order to reach the 7. I guess that's a feasible timeline. But we don't have a hard line on this. In the end, it's about, as Matthijs said, telling a good story and putting it all together in a way that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So,
thank you, Carlos. I think you can stay with me for the next two questions. There is a very general question. I think that somebody asked if SSH, social science and humanities, can play a role in the topics. I mean, in all our topics. It's yes and no question. I would say it depends of the topic. And we have some topics that are really stating that we need to have some social science and humanities. But maybe in some other topics, which may look to be quite technology oriented, but still need some aspects to be done. But that is sort of to the consortium to develop and to see. I think it can play a role. And in fact, you even see that the topics that the last one I described on the new next generation of renewable energy, we are asking to have this social aspect already considered when you start discussing technology. In a sense, it's what we don't want is to develop a technology that nobody wants to use. And I think SSH can help to answer and prevent this. Thank you. So now the next question is exactly for you, Carlos, is on the sustainability. It's a very broad question. Could you define sustainability, which appears in the title?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is it's always a tricky one. Defining sustainability is always a complicated situation. It's why I was linking it back into the general policies that we have, like the circular action plan or so on and so forth. Because I think there we have this idea of sustainability, which is it's obviously about minding the environment and trying to close the loop regarding circularity, but it's also about the human component. It's also about the economic environment into it. So for us, sustainability means that it's not like a combination of all those three different bits and pieces, right? The environments, the human components, and the economy all coming together in a way that's not like they make a loop, they close together. That is for us how, or at least for me, how I define sustainability in the title.
Thank you, Carlos. I think you can stay. I think the next question is for you. Is the topic 034. Should expected focus be more on the validation of models or more on scientific research on physics related to wind power production?
Well, the idea is that, I mean, there is obviously a gap in the knowledge. I think there is a lot of different models that they are covering different segments on the relation with the atmosphere, be like well, let's put like this, like the normal heights of the atmosphere, but obviously the very edge ones, but also the ones that are very low ones, like close to the ocean, if we're talking about offshore. So I think that there are some gaps there that will need to be will obviously need to be filled, and I think that will be the point where the development of them is going to be necessary. But ultimately, it's about validating all those models together and putting them all together. So I cannot say which one should be a stronger point. I mean, ultimately, you want to validate all of them, and you want to fill those gaps.
Thank you, Carlos. In fact, the next two questions is on the topic for Africa. So the first one is, does the openness of the source code concern all the code, including graphical interface, or is limited to the core model? In the scope, when you read it, it's more concerned the core coding, because the interface can be obviously developed further. Is that sort of the core model, the really important part of the model, which is the core, even if the interface are important, is the graphical interface is important. Well, it's not mentioning, maybe the input interface could be also, I think, is part for me of the core model, so that the way that you input data is understood by everybody. The other question on the same topic, what are the conditions for the African partners in order to get the EU funding, same as the European? In fact, let me just sort of check. Yeah, that was added at the last minute, so I didn't mention in the topic that all the legal entities in all the African Union countries will be exceptionally eligible for funding. So an African partners in this project will be considered like an European partner or an associated partner. So they will receive funding. And I think the last question that we have is for Maria on the topic 0303. Will a partner from India be eligible for EU funding? I think you more or less answered the question before.
Well, you have to check which countries are eligible for funding. Only if the experts, India is not one of the countries that receives Horizon Europe funding per se. Only if the experts in the topic evaluation consider that this is very essential for the project, and then co-funding mechanism can be found for funding the Indian participants.
Thank you, Maria. Well, we have no more question at the moment on the stuff Slido on the Q&A. Please, we are here to answer your questions, so don't hesitate. We'll be waiting sometimes for you to put more questions. We wait maybe another 5 minutes. We have a question on the Africa. So the question on the Africa is: the openness of the code source is dedicated to pure transparency, or should other stakeholders be able to reuse the code? Well, the openness is for other people, other stakeholders to be able to use and understand what the code is based on. So it's not only that you show that it is, but it's that for other stakeholders to be able to use it and continue the development of the code. We have a question on wave energy. It's for you, Matthijs.
Normally it is one project. We give an indication of the funding per project. It's 15 million. But although if there are some very good projects and just asking 7 to 8 million, it is fine as well. You can ask less if you can reach the goals as described in the topic, and that you can have the outcomes as described. So the best project following the criteria on scientific excellence, impact, and the implementation, that will be leading, of course. But normally I would expect that we finance one.
Yeah, I can maybe complement. I think it's this sort of number of projects to be funded is as the word is saying, is an expectation. It's may change depending of what proposal we are receiving, the budget use of the indicative budget. So it may be more, and it could be less. All the projects in one topic could all fail because they are bad. So it's this is just to give you an indication of, in a sense, what would be the competition.
Exactly, yeah, and of course you have to do as well a proper calculation of the full project costs, and there are some requirements like 12 to 24 months demonstration, measurements, environmental impact monitoring. So in offshore conditions, So it might be quite expensive, but you have to present a clear financial plan as well, of course.
Okay. There is a global question. Is there any call that is looking for retrofitting solution to reduce fuel for diesel? I think it's, I don't know, HGV. Maybe Maria, you can you can answer.
Could it be ADV, heavy duty vehicles? Okay, this the 2021 calls, as you see, no, I mean
I think it's probably.
But the retrofitting topic on advanced biofuels of the next.
Yeah, I think it's retrofitting. Maybe if you are speaking about engine or vehicles, it's maybe in the. Let me see. I think it's destination. Possibly 5, where there is a lot of activity, where most of the topic on the transports are. So there may be there topics that could fit. You have a question on the topic. Please describe the expected link to the bridge project.
Sorry, the bridge project, that is projects financed to accelerate, in fact, knowledge exchange, also to have more integration of the energy system. And it is also with, let's say, the European Technology and Innovation Platform for smart grids. And what they have set up is really some information days on discussing as well the outcomes of renewable energy technologies and how to integrate to the system. And it is expanded as well now to offshore renewables. As you know, we have published last year the offshore renewable energy strategy. As part of it, we have been publishing as well a call specific on offshore renewable energy development, and we really like to make use of the results. And they will organize workshops and invite the different projects, Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, to present and also to discuss later on the results and to have more the integration. And what it means as well that you need in your dissemination and exploitation, in fact, paragraph, that you're open to contribute to this bridge, to this knowledge exchange, and also some costs will be related to that. And that is what we have in mind with that. I hope it's clear enough. It might be as well good to have these questions as well, to put them on paper as well.
I think we will probably make a frequently asked question answer for this topic. I think we have a question on these 3 too. Sorry. I think this is, the breakthrough. So we have a question on the topic D30302, which is next generation renewable energy technologies. To what degree could there be an overlap with the initiative from the EU Clean Hydrogen Partnership? What we are looking here is really fully innovative and breakthrough technologies to produce hydrogen. And in a sense where the real innovation that we have at the moment is a direct production of hydrogen from renewable energy source, not a second step wise. So this is really novelty technologies. And the Hydrogen and Fuel Cells Partnership is at the moment developing his own sort of work program. And we'll have to see if we have an overlap or not on this aspect. But this will be taken into account when they will be developing, when they are developing their technology, their work program. Sorry. Okay, we are still open for questions. Okay.
Maybe you can
Yes.
explain, Philippe, the working of the FAQ, that we have this inquiry services.
Yes, I can. In fact, to ask a question, you can. In fact, you should use the main sort of question on each topic. You have a general research sort of help desk that will collate the answer and then send the answer to us. That we will answer through this help desk, and we will convert. Unless it's very specific. If it's general questions, we will convert it to frequently asked questions, and those frequently asked questions are directly linked to the topic. So when you go on our participant portal and click on the topic, you will also see the list of the already answered frequently asked questions. I see that we have a question on topic D30303. Can bio-based intermediaries be considered as a starting point as renewable sources? So, Maria,
I really want to skip the first part. No, I think the idea of having here this hybrid catalytic systems is the same for the syngas question, the biomass syngas. So you need to have to turn the renewable energy resource, which is the biomass, to a carbon neutral fuel, which is a biofuel. Or if it is not biomass, it can be another renewable fuel of non-biological origin. So you need to develop the hybrid catalytic system for the whole conversion.
Thank you, Maria. So you saw we have what I will also suggest to you is also the slides are presented sort of the major points of the topic. So you should really read the topic in details. There is the specific condition of each topic is clearly stated, expected outcome in the scope. So you should really read the topic and make sure that you understand the topic. One thing to try to avoid doing, and is sort of since I started to work on project management and program management, is make sure that you address the scope and you address the expected outcome of the topic and the impact. In Horizon Europe, in terms of evaluation, you probably have heard that already yesterday, that the impact of the project will be really taking a lot of interest and importance in the evaluation. Because we want to make sure that we have an impact. So this is quite important. Another point to remember, and that maybe my colleagues who presented some tips for to make proposal maybe said it also, but I like to possibly also repeat it, is do not try to fit your topic, your idea of a proposal in the topic, because it may not fit. And that the expert will see immediately that you try to squeeze something which is not foreseen in the topic. Is really read the topic and see, if you address it. If you have issue and you don't think that you address, we can clarify the topic, so you can ask the questions through the RNI helpline, and we will reply to you.
Philippe has this morning already people saying about the national contact points. Before I started to work in the Commission, I was a national contact point, and we were helping indeed as well researchers, developers as well, to find the right topics, areas, if it is fitting in, questions like indeed what about the costs which can be declared. Really have a look as well, who are the national contact points in your country, and they might be able to assist you and to help you as well in many different questions as well. They have also knowledge about other parts of the Horizon Europe program. It's very useful in my view.
Yeah, thank you, Matthijs. It's correct. I think if you have a question, contact your national contact points. That will be should be one of the first steps to do. So you have a few more minutes to ask your last burning question.
Now, you will always see that when you start setting up the project, then the questions are coming up. And when you're developing your consortia, but now it's a bit difficult maybe in an early stage. But start early, I would say, with developing your projects. I think that's very important that you don't have any surprises. I think we have been very clear.
I think so. It's, we have a question. Topic 12. I think it's for Carlos. Carlos, the question is for you. Is a question on topic this way. How does the Commission reserve the right to use the results in emergency for the exploitation?
Yeah, so this is something that is going to be done after the project finishes. So the idea is to try to, we have also the idea of developing obviously an European industry. So the idea is a lot of the knowledge that is developed within these projects is to remain and to be used within Europe. So how exactly this is going to be done is going to be something going to be done afterwards. So there's going to be a series of different analysis that happens after the project ends. See if this know-how or patents are going outside of Europe. We reserve the right to be able to somehow decline or not, or those kind of different things. So this is something that needs to be taken into consideration when developing the project and also when figuring out the partners they're going to have.
Carlos?
Yes.
I think it's not even just after, it's already during the lifetime, because you can already in the first year have a patent. So
yes.
It doesn't mean that we control this only after the project. It will be part of the grant agreement preparations. There will be a specific part on that. And it has to be discussed already before you start on this. I think that's very important, and that people are aware. And I think that's the moment where you share the expectations. So when there is indeed exploitation, it can be already during the lifetime of the project, and that we are aware of that.
Yes, thanks for the input. I think that's obviously extremely valid. I was looking more from the perspective of after the project finished, but that is true. While the project is ongoing, that's going to be taking place, and it needs to be taken into consideration during the proposal step. This is something that's going to be it's going to be almost like not necessarily a cloud, but it's going to be something that's going to be overarching over the whole project.
Yeah, it is one of our aims as well to reinforce the European supply chain and the European developers. And that's why we are using this specific article, in fact.
There is a question, another question on topic D30312. I'm sure it was already there before.
Yeah, I think it was answered. The discussion, we answered it.
If you want to answer it again, just for clarity.
Okay, it's a famous question about the Canary Islands. Does the Northeast Atlantic Ocean include the Canary Islands?
Yeah, I thought I had an answer. Perhaps I was not clear, but I mean, we have a directive that explains where each area of the EU falls into those different basins. So as far as I remember right now, I think the ocean or the sea basin around the Canary Islands does cover the Atlantic Ocean. So it's considered to be the Atlantic area. And I think that is that. So yeah, I mean, I would suggest anybody to look into this directive. It's there linked into the call, so you can actually see it. It's very clearly there defining what is where.
Thank you, Kalu.
Thank you, Kalu. So I think we have reached the end of our session. So let me thank all the presenters for their sort of good work in presenting and in more or less keeping time during the presentation and answering all the questions. I thank you all for your contribution and your presence today. I thank the audience for very good questions, which shows that sometimes we still have to improve our writing. So if our topic were perfect, we will have no questions, but it's not, so we have to answer a question. So I thank you all and wish you a good sort of rest of the information day and a good session and good listening. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Good luck all.
Goodbye.